It's time to rock and roll!
Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Waffle Press Hangouts. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. It's been a while since Gene and I recorded together. Gene is my co-host. So, Gene, how are you? We're just going to jump right into it today.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Slightly congested because of the weather, but I think I sound all right. I'm just drinking a lot of tea.
Yeah,
Right?
I didn't notice beforehand, but then you were like, yeah, I think I sound all right. I was like, I
No,
guess. Like,
no, I think I sound okay. It's just like slightly. You could, you know,
no, yeah,
like
because that's how you sounded before. And then you were like, and I was like,
just for
that's,
effect.
yeah. I was like, oh, and I didn't know how serious that one was.
Hmm.
But yeah, but you've also been on your grind with
Oh,
these podcasts. With you've had a couple great interviews. We got another great interview today. We'll introduce our guest in a second, but I
yeah.
just wanted to shout out those because we had a pretty busy Halloween season.
Hmm.
We got plenty of stuff to catch up on. But why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest, because this is a buddy of yours, I believe.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I was a former coworker of mine. His name's Jorge Suarez. He's a director, filmmaker. He was the main editor on some of the shows that I worked on. So yeah, we were really cool. We had some good times hanging out.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yeah. It's good to have you, man. Yeah. It's been
That's
too long.
God, G4. That was just a flash in the pan, huh? Just for a moment.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like it felt longer though. It was like a year of my
Heartbreaking.
life. Yeah. Just wouldn't recommend being fired on Twitter on a Sunday.
Well,
Oh yeah,
don't
on a
worry.
Sunday. On a
Yes,
Sunday.
Yeah.
soon there
Was
may not be a Twitter. So
yeah, there may not be a Twitter. You know,
uh,
I was at
it's
yeah, I was at church too. I was like worshiping
Wow.
on the Lord's Day, you know.
So that
It's
was the
pretty
lightning coming down.
yeah, it was pretty fucked up.
Nice. Yeah, that sucks, man.
yeah,
Should
it's,
be a
the
law. Should
internet
be a
the
law
internet's
against that.
just diving off the deep end.
Yeah.
Jorge, you're not diving off the deep end though. You're making moves. You tell us a little bit about yourself. I only know you a little bit
Hmm.
from the
Yeah.
preemptive
Oh,
material
you.
Gene
Yeah, you
informed me
did the
of, but
Oh,
minimal amount of research that you could possibly do.
yeah.
that's
You
exactly you fit
don't
right
need
in
to worry.
here.
You
You
don't need to do
guys.
homework when it comes to me.
Oh, you
Uh,
remember my birthday? You guys remember my birthday? There you go. I was getting drunk.
Some
that is
people remember your birthday. I think it's me and Jorge, and then everyone else not so much.
Hmm.
yeah, well, like I Ubered out of there, so I don't know what you're talking about. No, man, yeah, I'm a filmmaker. I'm out here in Los Angeles, doing the thing, and it's been really great. We've been pretty busy with we're picking up some momentum on our series called The Line. Uh, this is a project I developed with a few co-writers, a couple of co-writers, a writing team, Heather Wood and Megan McConnell, and we've been, it was tough because we conceived this idea so long ago, and it was, the pandemic had just kind of like brought everything to a screeching halt. So it's weird that like right now is when we're getting all this momentum, because it's actually like we shot it before the pandemic happened, right before. So it's been really nice to kind of see it get its due, and people are finally seeing it, and the festivals are now open. But basically, what we did was we produced the pilot episode to the series, which is something that you don't have to do in this business. You get away with like a trailer and or a pitch deck or something like that. That's where most of the industry's resonating. But um, I like to make shit. I don't like I don't like making partial things. I don't like kind of having half complete work. So I was like, all right, we can at least take a little portion of this thing that's a bigger story, a bigger arc, and we can produce it ourselves. So that's what we did. We went and produced it, and we have a 48-minute pilot, and
Hmm.
we're super stoked about it. We're very proud of it, and we had a really interesting week at AFM with it, and it's just been really great, man. It's a very pleasant upturn. I'm happy to report.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
for those that don't know, AFM's the American Film Market. Could you talk a little bit about that? Like we got like a list of topics we want to talk about with you,
man.
but yeah, I mean, let's just jump right into that.
Look, I got all the time you guys got, all right? Look, I can say, like, I'm not the one editing this down. So
That's not me either. That's not me either.
It's fine. We're going crazy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So AFM, yeah, it's become a really big popular film market. It's one of the biggest in the country. It's one of the biggest on the planet. But you know, amongst others. But it's really a place where independents and buyers, just basically anybody who's in the film industry can go. But I noticed that there's particularly an independent thing going on here, because a lot of the bigger studios already have a lot of their outlets, and they have those deals already worked out. But this is a really great place for creators and buyers, exhibitors, everybody who's kind of involved on that level can come and sell product and create deals. And you know, it's important. It's an important yearly thing to the independent film scene, the highly marketable one, at least. You know, the commercial, you don't think about it as independent, but they're not like big studio movies either. You know what I mean? They're like, they're like, you know, what we used to call straight to DVD, right?
Now it's like straight to streaming.
Now it's straight to streaming, which is weird, because we'd all happily accept that, whereas straight to DVD, I think, used to have kind of a negative connotation. But,
it was always like a lot of off-brand sequels, you know.
Yeah,
like,
it was usually like a PC way of saying bad movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a good straight to DVD. Still waiting.
No, there's still plenty of good ones.
What's Equilibrium? I think Equilibrium was straight to DVD with Christian Bale. That movie's fire. I love that.
No, I will go to bat for, not just because we have a friend of the show who's big in the direct to video director space, but like there's been some like amazing low budget action movies where it's like, you know, you can see they don't have time to like do crazy setups, but it's like you got talented martial artists who can like shoot stuff really quickly. They know the choreography. Like there's plenty out there. It's just
there's tons for sure. And let's not forget, James Cameron got to start in some pretty B-level horror things. So
we're on it too.
Yeah. He was fired from like immediately, but he's still credited, which is so funny. But
he's just a crazy person. It's not his fault.
No, he was dealing with crazy Italian producers who hated him. He got out crazy at the start of his career, and then he was like, never again. And then he almost kills Ed Harris. But anyways,
almost killed him. He almost killed him. He almost killed him in the abyss.
No one's killed him in the abyss. I love that movie.
It's a great movie. He's a great director.
If I was gonna almost die, I think like Making the Abyss would be fine too. You know?
Yeah, that would be a great way to go.
Yeah, for that movie. But yeah, there. I was trying to bring up like good straight to DVD sequels. Can't think of any.
Yeah, Beyond Skyline. We got to shout out our boy Liam O'Donnell. Right. Beyond Skyline, Skylines. Those are just his movies. Here you go. We're gonna talk about what we've been watching recently. That's usually how we lean into this conversation. But Jorge just dove right in, and which I am appreciative of. So we could just ignore the small talk. Now we're just best friends. But
the issues.
Yeah. The Child's Play and Chucky sequels. There's two direct-to-video ones. I like those a lot. I think they're incredibly underrated. And I just started the Chucky TV show. I saw the first episode. I haven't
seen the Chucky TV show, but I was always fond of the Chucky movies when I was younger. We used to terrify one of my younger cousins. With like the Chucky movie, and Chucky used to freak him out, so he developed a bit of a psychological social issue as a result. But that's not for this show, right?
Yeah, no, you can. I mean, if you want to say it, you can.
No, so when Gene and I had our separate episodes because we couldn't match up our schedules, one of the people I interviewed was a therapist, so I was like, I'll bring her back, and we'll parse that out later, you know, because that's huge. But long story short, I would recommend the Chucky TV show if you like the movies, like all the way through, like I do. I'm a huge Child's Play Chucky fan. How much
does it lean into the nostalgia of the original series?
The first two episodes have no references other than Charles Lee Ray is in the body of a doll
Okay.
and
Okay.
is starting to kill people again.
Okay.
So it's
back.
pretty standalone so
Look,
far.
if it works for Prey, it can work for Child's Play.
Yep. Yeah, big Prey fans here too. So
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it was good. So
you know what I just saw was finally, I was actually wanting to catch this in the theaters and I never got around to it. Was Barbarian.
Oh, I love that one.
I thought it was
what'd you
terrific.
think?
Oh, I thought it was terrific.
Yeah.
And it's like it's really interesting because I'm starting to see this it's like a pattern, it's like a wave, right? Of like, some horror tends to be such a trend-setting genre because it's so connected to, it has such a deep like grassroots connections, like everyone loves horror films on some level. It just depends kind of, I mean, even if you hate them, about them, and to hear, it's like, I don't know, there's something about that kind of like under the radar culture that always seems to perpetuate the horror films. But I'm noticing that horror is having this really great kind of like low budget uptick again. Like there's something about those really grounded, low budget horror films that are permeating the mainstream, and they are like becoming the big thing. And now Smile is doing incredibly, which I haven't seen yet, but I like hearing that these small movies, smaller movies, are doing really well. That not everything has to be a $250 million, summer tentpole. So it's I think it's good news. It's good for all of us. The smaller guys that aren't getting the big money.
All the comic book movies will like swallow up the theaters.
Well, look, if it's up to me, comic book movies will soon be, not because I hate comic book movies, I'm just not in the evolution of the mainstream. If it's up to me, comic book movies will get replaced by video game adaptations.
Oh, there you go.
that would be cool. Yeah, I mean, Gene and I have definitely
have to make that one. We have to make video game adaptations needs to have their Iron Man. You know what I mean? That one movie that is just looks so fun that it appeals to people who've never really appreciated the comics or anything.
Too many stinkers.
There are a lot of stinkers. There's some I definitely
There's
like.
A lot of stinkers, bro.
There's stinkers.
More than time yet.
There's definitely some video game adaptations I'll go to bat for.
Warcraft.
I think there's one.
Warcraft.
I like Warcraft. I can get people being like. I never
saw it, but wasn't that Gareth Edwards who did that?
No, it was David Bowie's son.
Yeah, David Bowie's son, which I always think is Gareth Edwards.
No.
I don't know. I always get those two mixed up.
Yeah, no one's seen Gareth Edwards in like 5 years.
He's the dude that did Moon, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, Duncan Jones.
Duncan Jones, that's his name.
Yeah, they're both English.
You can see Warcraft like, oh, he clearly wanted it to be like better, and he spoke very openly about this at a Q&A I went to a year after the movie's release. He was still like proud of it, but like openly said like, when you're fighting between essentially two studios and playing mediator and having to direct a movie, because it's Blizzard and Universal, and they're like, we want this, no, make it more like the game, make it more like this, and he's like, I have a story we agreed on, what happened? Everyone like it was like an insurmountable task, it sounded like. Also, and then it was his first big budget movie too.
Also I think his dad died probably during that process too.
Oh shit, probably.
His that's right. Shoot. Dang.
So
and then when you watch it with that too, like it's also a movie about like fathers and sons and stuff like very explicitly about that. So I got a soft spot for that, I like that but the movie I was gonna reference and I actually think holds weight, like as a good movie I can fight for it, is the Silent Hill adaptation. I think that Silent Hill movie is really cool,
and it's actually garnered a bit more of a cult following. This movie's gotten more popular with age. I've seen it. It's great. It has its own thing going on. And I think that maybe initially it wasn't well received because, maybe because the game itself had already like a very niche following. And people didn't really kind of know what to think of it. But when you kind of separate the game from the movie, it's pretty great. Like, I'm not saying that it doesn't do a good job of covering it, but it's just a good movie on its own. You don't have to know much about the game franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that
so
did.
too. We need
I would go to bat.
we need a good BioShock adaptation. Oh no.
Well, let's see. And look, I think what we're into here pretty soon, the HBO adaptation of The Last of Us should be pretty
Oh.
good. So
Yeah,
I've
I
got
hope
high hopes
so.
for that, and I got high hopes. Well, and let's see. I think there could be a couple of misses. We'll see, but like Twisted Metal is coming soon.
Oh yeah.
That should be pretty interesting. Isn't that crazy?
That'll
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that'll be
wild. That
It's,
seems
cool.
more
of
like a
all the
movie to
things,
me.
of all the games to, well, I guess you could kind of make the case that it's like Death Race 2000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. I don't
but
remember the story for Twisted Metal. I just remember just like
well, like each character, it's kind of like Street Fighter. Every character has kind of their own story, but whatever, man. I mean,
Yeah.
let's just hope that they do a good job, and then
okay.
we give a shit. Because I got to tell you guys, one of the best video game movies of all time is incredibly old now. It's called The Wizard, and it had Fred Savage in it, and that movie
Okay.
is fucking awesome. If you
Is it,
haven't
I've
seen
never
it,
seen it.
Me neither.
oh, that I'm telling you right now that is still in contention for best video game movie of all time.
All right, it's called The
Okay.
Wizard. I'm writing this down right now.
Oh my god, how am I teaching both of you guys about The
Yeah.
Wizard right
No,
now?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, was
But,
it in the 80s? Because I wasn't born yet.
late 80s. No, when did Super Mario 3 come out? 1991?
91, yeah.
91.
Yeah, so it would have been like early 90s.
I wasn't born yet.
Go watch it and you're gonna be pissed because you're gonna be like,
Okay.
shit, we actually haven't made a better video game movie than this.
All right, I'll take that into consideration.
Yeah. I want to double back to the horror conversation just really quickly because we don't have to get into it, Gene, but there's been some life changes going on, and you and I were having a very candid conversation off the podcast about like fuck, it feels like a lot of stuff's kind of shifting in various sides of the entertainment industry, not just film, but video games, obviously, and stuff like that.
Right.
And I was like, I just fucking shoot something like now, like let's just pump something out. I spitballed an idea I had for a short film that hopefully we could get going soon. And so it's just really great to hear, Jorge, that like there are people interested in like lower budget stuff, not stuff that's a little more like rickety and ramshackle, but still like.
Look, I think there's a real easy way of saying it. Independent films will always have way bigger balls than the commercial sector. Like always. There's no way. The commercial interests, the big corporate interests, the studios. I'm not a hater at all. I mean, I love, like, Maverick was one of my favorite movies of the year.
That's so good.
So I'm more artist centric. I think about who's really behind the project, but they just can't take the risks that independent film can. And sometimes that comes with some major polarity. Sometimes it means that there's going to be some really terrible shit that gets made, but then sometimes there's going to be really incredible things that kind of redefine either genres or the market or landscape or something like that. And so I've realized now, especially after the pandemic and watching kind of what's happened with independent film, it's not really going anywhere, but it will always continue, unfortunately, and hopefully less so moving into the future. But it's just such a royal pain in the ass to try and survive it. You know what I mean? And so that's where the challenge is. It's almost not, will the product eventually be good? Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really bad stuff out there, but there's also some really incredible things that compete in terms of quality with their big budget counterparts. So I've got a ton of hope for indie filmmaking. It's just kind of like, what are the marketing challenges going to be in the future, and then what's the actual financial landscape going to be for it in the future. I think streaming is going to really help, but I don't think independent cinema itself is really going anywhere.
No, thanks for that. Yeah, because that we always have conversations about theaters and stuff like that, and like, for better or worse, whatever, like it does sound like streaming is gonna help, at least like buoy kind of like the people's ability to find stuff, because people are always finding stuff like even like 10 years after it's released, people are like, hey, what, you seen this movie with like so and so? oh,
Yeah,
what? It went to theaters? What? It's not a new movie, and then like someone falls in love with it or whatever,
Yeah,
you know? It's
yeah,
always like again to reference a friend of the show, Liam O'Donnell, like Beyond Skyline and Skylines. We're both in like Netflix top 10 for like
yeah,
weeks.
yeah,
And those movies are several years old now.
yeah.
But people just discover them and they're like, oh, I like this.
They
It's
rediscover
like
them, right?
you never know how someone finds something.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that spirit, we actually need to do a better job of getting older
Hmm.
films cataloged and like put made available on streaming services that it's going to be tough because then it becomes kind of a niche streaming service that like that specializes in like older films.
yeah,
Mhm.
But it would be really great if some of like the bigger players just regularly kept a catalog of classic films
yeah.
that you could kind of discover because there's so many great ones, and I know they're still so incredibly like responsible for inspiring new artists and everything.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I agree.
I don't think
There,
you can watch Killer's Kiss or The Killing, either one. Probably The Killing is like
yeah,
one of my favorites, but I think that if you're interested in film and you watch one of the earliest kind of versions of a popcorn movie, just a straight entertainment based like heist movie, it's so great. And like that, I can only imagine what that would be like for, later generations of filmmakers to be able to still find an experience like easily.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up too. Gene and I have also talked about that a lot. So this you fit in perfectly here, is what I'm saying, because that's a
Thanks,
big
man. You mean we're big movie nerds? Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
pretty much,
Yeah.
pretty much.
But no, like I think The Killing's super underrated Stanley Kubrick movie, by the way.
Mhm.
So thank you
It's
for bringing
so
that one
fun.
up.
It is so
Yeah.
fun. Like what a great popcorn movie that was. It's just a fun heist flick.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
I
the
think
original Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Actually, and it's on that level. Like honestly, I don't even bat an eye at that statement. That's very true. It's on that level, and it was still like told in a really interesting way, and the story unfolding was still very interesting. It holds up
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I think there's this weird air of I think people call it pretentious when you watch like foreign films or older films, but I find it much more pretentious if people
That's an
don't go
American
seek that
thing.
stuff out.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like and again, this is nothing against like the blockbuster stuff. Like
sure.
I fucking talk about the Batman that came out this year all the time
Love
because I
it.
loved it.
Yeah,
But
I love it.
like
Fucking great.
I think when people go back and watch the older stuff, they're kind of surprised that it's not like stuffy and all prim and
Yeah,
proper. It's like fucking Some Like
you
It
can
Hot.
find that shit. There was tons of it,
Yeah,
Mhm.
but
yeah,
there
and
was
there's
some really
stuff like that
incredible
now
stuff.
too.
Yeah,
But then you watch something like Some Like It Hot, and it's just like this is
yeah,
fucking
incredible,
hysterical. Like,
incredible.
you
Uh,
know,
yeah, a lot of those directors are still singular in my mind.
Mhm.
You know, Billy Wilder. I mean, I remember seeing Ace in the Hole for the first time and having that blow my effing mind. I was like, "What the hell? Like, how long has this movie been out?" And it basically follows the conventions of filmmaking, even on a commercial level, better than some of the movies we have today. I mean, it's just an older medium and it's in black and white, but the storytelling is just as captivating as any American film that gets made today.
Mhm.
Uh, Obviously,
Yeah,
other countries make their films in different ways, but um, as far as American filmmakers and American films go, the classics still bringing it in ways that are challenging to even today's filmmakers for sure.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
very well said.
Dialing back a little bit to talk about you some more. How did you get started? Like, when did you realize, like, oh, I want to make movies? When I'm going to do this for the
Well,
rest of my life?
what's funny is I actually fell in love with it before I realized it was something I could spend my life doing. Um, like as a kid, I really loved. There was a straight to TV like a cable movie, almost like an after school special movie that I fell in love with. Uh, Called it wasn't the Outsiders. I'm gonna have to remember that. I haven't thought
Hmm.
about this in a long time, but like it was a really, I wouldn't rewatched it, and it says it's like really cheap and crappy, but it connected with me on a way that I was so stoked about it. It was about kids that were like creating a bit of a gang. It was like a low budget. It was like the poor man's Outsiders. Um,
Nice.
And so I kind of like was drawn to movies. I remember going to the theater as a kid and seeing, if you've never seen an action movie called Toy Soldiers, I saw that. I was fairly young and I saw it in the theater, and it man, I remember it being one of the earlier experiences I had with like having my heart ripped out and like going on like a cinematic experience, with characters and really being drawn into the story and kind of understanding. It was simple, right? It's just this. Have you guys ever, have either of you guys seen it?
No,
Toy
I have
Story?
not.
Damn it.
You
This
must
is a
watch
strike
it.
too.
It's got Sean Astin in it, and he's
Oh,
younger,
okay.
obviously. Louis Gossett Jr.'s in it. It's great, and it's basically just about terrorists who take over this school and the students inside trying to get out and escape.
Oh.
It's very basic, but it's one of those classic early '90s, late '80s action movies where like we have a 30-minute first act. You know what I mean? So it's like you really fall in love with the characters. And anyhow, all that to say, I fell in love with movies like that, Courage Mountain, early Charlie Sheen stuff like that. That's like, these are some of the movies I remember experiencing at a really young age. And I think the one that really kind of hit it out of the park for me was Tim Burton's Batman. And I saw that in the theater. I knew at that point, like, that I was going to be in love with cinema on some level. And then I was lucky enough to go and get a chance to see a matinee screening of The Rocketeer.
Oh, I love that one.
And so, dude, I mean, these were like early comic book movies. This is like, we're doing this on a big commercial level, but they were doing it on a smaller level then. And I got that early taste and I fell in love with it. But, again, too young to really know that I could. Yeah, I don't know how you made movies. They just were movies, like a thing that you go and see.
Yeah.
And so, but then it wasn't probably until we started really popularizing the behind the scenes featurettes for movies that were kind of appearing at the end of the VHS era and then into the DVD era. And that was kind of like my early film school that gave me that interest to go to real film school. And I had gone to a college to like study. God, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I was born in Mexico City, but then my parents moved us to America, and I grew up primarily in Seattle. And so everyone up there is what in the '90s. What are you doing? You're going to work for Microsoft. You're going to go work, you know what I mean? Like you're going to go work for Boeing or Warehouse. You're either going to get into engineering or you're going to get into like computer science. And I tried that stuff, and I didn't know anything about myself at the time. I mean, we're talking about college, and it's like I was still kind of feeling it out and seeing what's up, and I just did absolutely terribly, and so my brain just did not work that way. You remember? Do you guys remember Napster?
Yeah.
I do remember Napster.
Yeah, it's a good way to
you remember
get
when you would like download songs and you could find those few that would just download super fast. There was always that one that was it would take like a weekend, and you're like, shit, it's still not working. Like that's how I felt compared to I felt like that song. Like I couldn't learn this stuff. It wasn't, my brain just wasn't ticking in that way. And so I ended up leaving that school, and I just went to community college. At the time it was community college. Now it's a much bigger school. It's called Bellevue College in Washington State, in Seattle. And I did their film program there, and it was incredible. I think a lot of this was catalyzed specifically by like the making of featurettes for Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings.
So good.
But they went so in depth in that series of behind the scenes stuff. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It was so in depth that you could really experience the whole thing in this kind of microcosm of this documentary. And it was incredible. So I tried film school out. I fell in love with it. I felt like I was, how sometimes you just kind of are naturally able to do something. It just kind of clicks. That is how I felt when I went to film school. There was still obviously tons for me to learn, and I was bad just like everybody. I'd like to believe I'm not as bad anymore. But there was something about it that really felt like it clicked in ways that these other topics that I was studying just weren't. And that was really like when I was like, okay, that's when I made the hard commitment. Like, this is something I want. This is what I want to do with my life. This is how I identify. Like, this was the most me I've ever found. And that, that's where it started. That's when everything, that's when the nightmare began, I guess.
Oh no.
But it's, it was
It has
really
its
cool.
moments.
What's that? Yeah,
Oh.
of course. No. Look, at the end of the day, this is actually, I think kind of like a short story that kind of encapsulates the overall feeling for me is, when I knew I wanted to get into film stuff, when I went through film school, I got a chance to PA on an independent film that was shooting up in Seattle. And I remember our first day, it started at like 4 a.m. and it went something like 20 hours or something like that. It was a long day. I had never been so exhausted in my life, and at the same time had never felt that level of emotional fulfillment. I was like the happiest I'd ever been, but I was exhausted physically. And that's because you think about work and people go, well, I don't want to get tired. It sounds like tiring work. And you think, well, that's what's going to make a good or bad job, but it's not. Like, there was a spiritual and emotional fulfillment that I was getting from this as an art form that I wasn't finding in anything else. And that to me that solidified it for me. No matter how problematic this industry gets, no matter the bullshit that it entails, the business side is terrible. We treat artists like absolute shit. There are endless problems in this industry, but the work itself fulfills me in a way where I just couldn't deny it. And I was like, all right, I'm going for it. So I made my first feature at like, God, I was like 21 years old. I was very lucky to have the Robert Rodriguez roadmap, and I followed that. I thought the roadmap also then led to Sundance and getting like repped by a huge agent and then getting off. That part didn't happen, but but I definitely got to make a movie for $7,000 to $10,000, and it was a really great experience. I learned a lot. It was, I see it for a lot of its mistakes. I think that's just like the artist in me. But I do appreciate it for being the firstborn, and I got a chance to sell it. It's actually, I think it's still on Amazon. But so you guys don't need to watch it, though.
I was just about to ask. No, because I think
to.
there's a beauty to like a first
I owe you a
attempt.
DVD. Yes, thank you, man.
Just got to bring it over. You live pretty close.
Yeah. I'll bring it over. I still, and I have some. So that's on my to-do list.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll watch that. But the pilot is much better now. So fast forward, I ended up actually like, once I moved down to Los Angeles to sell The Scratch, which was the first movie, I had to just kind of keep cutting my teeth. It was clear that like I still needed to learn a lot. There was still a lot that I was pretty insecure about in terms of my own abilities as a director. And so I started working on all sorts of stuff, from reality television to commercials. I actually ran my own commercial production company for like 10 years. And I basically just like cut my teeth on commercials. I did a lot of stuff in the commercial space, and not even in like the top tier commercial space, because that's its own little industry that, you have to climb it, and it's very difficult to do all that now. But like mid-level commercials were great because they were like, it's like short form content that you actually get paid to do. It's like really, these commercials are, a day or two of shooting, and like you're prepping for like a couple of weeks, and then the post is a few weeks, and so it's faster turnaround.
Yeah.
So I was able to really practice on that, and then I also was simultaneously working as a writer. I got a chance to work on some really great projects. I was developing with I actually made a pretty decent headway as a writer. I connected with, they're the only studio I haven't worked for, I think, is Universal, but I've worked with all the rest. And I got a chance to work on some really exciting things. And I thought it was like, okay, this is going to be the precursor to, finally getting to like direct small movies and kind of getting into the system and all that. But I was discovering, unfortunately, that I was running across a bunch of barriers that were completely out of my control. Like, I hated that, because like when I go out and make The Scratch and there's mistakes, I know I'm the one to blame, and I'm like, what did I do? I can fix that mechanically. I can go in and change it. I can change my approach. I can change my attitude. Blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. The truth, the point is that I can fix the problem if I analyze it. I couldn't fix these problems. These had nothing to do with me. They were just other things, other issues, other people. The collaboration is massive. You're talking about multi-million-dollar projects. It's like I was pretty close to the low man on the totem pole as a writer. So a lot of stuff would kind of fall apart. And I said, I never got into this business to just write scripts that catch a lot of dust. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in in the indie film industry. It was becoming popular to just do everything yourself. Like you have an idea, you're passionate about a film you want to do, you go out and just do it. And you find a way, you get your buddies, you raise a little bit of money. Digital cameras became more popular. The technology was getting more and more accessible. It's like you just started doing everything yourself. And so I was like, you know what, I can't take this anymore. I think I had like my 5th, 6th, or 7th project just completely like disintegrate before my eyes or go nowhere after giving it a bunch of time. And I said, I'm going back to my roots, and I'm going to do what I do. I can make things look pretty cool for not a lot of money. That's a gift that I have, and I'm grateful for it, and I don't want to hide it. So that's what I did. We just took a little bit of money. I saved up some money, and we got a little bit of extra funding, external funding, or private funding, and we just went into production and shot the 48-minute pilot for my series called The Line. Wow, I've been talking for a long time. You're gonna want
No. This is great. This is great. This
introduction.
Yeah, not just that, but like, Gene and I really wanted to move. When we started this podcast, we were really, it's like every other movie podcast, like, here's the movie news and shit, like we're not qualified to talk about, like many of them. And then I was like, we have like people in the world around us who like have interesting stories, want to hear from them, want to hear more about independent filmmaking, especially, not just because we're like trying to do our own thing too, but like it's just no one's covering like this aspect of the world that regularly, so it's like, please keep talking. This is what you're here for.
Great. So I don't know, man. It's pretty great. I designed this project to be low budget, capable. You know what I mean? It's like when you're not going to have a lot of money, you can write around that. So that's where this came from, and I was like, you know what? I really love movies like Magnolia. I love Pulp Fiction. I love Babel. I love a lot of these stories they're individual stories that get intertwined. And so I was like, I think that could really serve a good thing for the producer too, because that would mean that as a producer, I can just go to an actor and go, I don't need you for 3 weeks or 4 weeks for a whole feature. I just need you for like 1 week to do one episode that's just a chunk of a feature. Or its own shorter episode, and then you're done. Like you get away with a lot cheaper things. So that's where it kind of combine that with some things I wanted to say, personal things as an artist. I just wanted to say in terms of the content, and that's where The Line was born.
Can you talk a little bit about any of like the influences? I mean, we talk about like movies, any like sort of like when you're directing or storyboarding, any like film in particular you had like, okay, this is like the blueprint to like make this.
I think that you kind of take ingredients from here and there to kind of make your own thing, right? I think that's something that like I've kind of come to terms with, and I've actually had my own insecurities about, which is like, I look at guys like Stanley Kubrick, or even like D.W. Griffith, like the founding father of film. Like that guy didn't really have anybody to watch. You know what I mean? like he wasn't subscribing to Netflix and like, learned what it actually looked like to properly cover a scene, et cetera, et cetera. Which, like, it's not like we're doing it the way they were doing it then, but I'm like, sometimes I'm like, if I were tasked with that, like if I didn't have other filmmakers to watch, could I even have thought of this? Like, I don't think so. I think I needed to fall in love with other movies to kind of get to this place. But what were we talking? Sorry, I got off track.
No, just like any film in particular.
Right. So I kind of find that like it becomes like an ingredient from here and there. Like I personally my cinematography style, I really love. I love to move the camera. I think camera movement is crucial to being able to kind of speak cinema fluently. I know it's not necessary. I know there are a lot of filmmakers who actually do it without, but I think my favorite kind of directing requires that the frame have some movement to it.
Mhm.
And I've, in a low budget world, it's expensive to move the camera. It's like, if you're going to lock off a camera and you want it to move through a room, guess what, man? That's like going to either be a dolly with a long dolly track, which comes with its own requirements, or steady cam, with an operator. Of course, these gimbals are now much cheaper and everything, but still, it's an additional tool that you may or may not be able to afford. And I just love to let the camera breathe and be, in the place that it is. And so I've really taken to handheld quite a bit. I don't mind it. I think that there's tasteful handheld. Don't get me wrong. I'm not interested in trying to make the audience nauseous, but
Yeah.
I certainly think that there's this kind of energy that comes along inherently with handheld that I really like, and a lot of filmmakers have used it. I'm not anything close to a pioneer of it in any capacity, so I think that it's a proven way to work. That's one. So Alejandro Inarritu, obviously, a lot of his really kind of gritty handheld stuff is like things like Babel or Morris Barrows.
Mhm.
Or wait, was that Quaron?
No,
No,
that
that
was
was
Inarritu.
Inarritu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
was
was long.
Inarritu. Things I really love that look. But on the opposite spectrum, I'm actually a massive fan of David Fincher's framing. I
Oh.
think that his framing is some of my favorite. I actually, when I think about framing particular shots for coverage or what have you, he definitely crosses my mind. I go, how would Fincher shoot this? Because he's got this kind of like effortless cleanliness to all of his framing that's
Mhm.
just so absolutely perfect. It's everything it needs to be and nothing it doesn't. And I just think that's such a masterful job, and somebody I'm constantly trying to. I think I try to channel him, uh,
Yeah.
handheld Fincher. That's really what I'm trying to do.
No, I like the combination right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That
yeah,
was interesting.
yeah. Well, it's great, low budget, man. I have to
Mhm.
tell you, it's like it doesn't cost a lot. You get
Yeah.
yourself a really great shooter, a great camera operator, and DP, which we had. Our DP Brent Bai was incredible. I'm very, very proud of the cinematography of this project. I'm a huge camera nut. Like I think I love it, maybe even too much, to a detriment. Like that's my favorite part, right? Like I love
Mhm.
working with actors, but the camera is like, I don't know. That's like the fun part.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
like
mean,
the chocolate sauce you put on top.
you're like
That's like the
telling
most. It's like, oh,
telling
this
the
just became
story.
a treat. Uh,
Do you have a preferred camera that you use for any of your projects or anything you look for?
no, man. Honestly, as an independent, I think that I'm not even going to pretend that I get to create things as often as I want. Oftentimes, by the time I get around to actually being able to either raise funds or get a project together that I'm really passionate about doing, technology's changed, and there's new things that are available. And so, man, I really can't wait for you to see this. I know, Gene, you're going to be at the screening. I want you to see this because this camera that we shot this movie on, which I have not had a single, if anything, everyone's always just constantly gushed about the cinematography. And this is a $5,000 body camera. It's not an expensive camera. We shot it on the Ursa, the
Hmm.
Ursa Mini, 4.6K, Black Magic camera. It has gone through its own evolution of issues and everything. Black Magic has been dealing quite a bit with their own cine chip and everything that can kind of has been problematic with it. And they've done a good job, man. I gotta take my hat off to them. They've done it. I was really concerned with some of their early stuff and a lot of their pattern noise that they had, and the low levels and the blacks were super muddy and kind of not really there.
Mhm.
Um, but they've really fixed it, and you know, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's a lot more than just the camera when it comes to the image you're creating. There's a lot more. Um, Everything from, you know, lighting to ambience to filtration, where the light, you know, where the sun is or not, you know, your exposure. There's so much that goes into it that is outside just, you know, how pretty of a chip can this camera you know, create, or image does the camera's chip create of an image. And it's not, you know, I would never dare kind of give blind allegiance to any one camera, because as you go from story to story, you might have a different texture in mind for that story, and different cameras are going to create different textures. So um, we had a lot of fun creating what I think is a really interesting texture for this series, and I want to keep working with it. But man, it was so cheap to shoot this.
Nice.
It should have been, dude. Like, I think images of this quality, even a decade ago, were, you know, 5 times more expensive when you're talking about the camera. You're like, maybe the Red One when it first came out, and that was, I want to say, like 20,000 ish.
It's a lot. Yeah.
You're talking about 4 times the cost, and that was on, you know, Red camera is supposed to be a cheap, low budget, uh, you know, solution to indie filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember when those cameras like were getting popular. It was right when I was starting to get like really into behind the scenes stuff, and like, oh shit, I think I want to like actually make stuff, you know, with my hands,
Yeah.
not just watch it. And yeah, I remember like, oh, this is supposed to be like the consumer friendly one of all these
Yeah.
cameras, and then I was like, oh, it's like $50,000. I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
no, that's not. It's not quite
Yeah, and by the
consumer
way,
friendly.
yeah, well, like 50,000, and like some of their newer camera, the red bodies were like, yeah, those were upwards of 50,000. By the time you finish putting all the peripherals on it and got yourself a set of lenses, you're talking about, you know, pretty close to 100 grand. I mean, that's, you know, that's not
It's like, I don't
not
have that money.
accessible either, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your
The Black Magics I'm not accustomed to. I'm just familiar with like the name, and I'm familiar with some other independent filmmakers that have been like they'll share test footage of it and stuff like that, and just like the capabilities of like
It's
the
nuts.
latitude in editing is
Yeah.
absurd.
Let me tell you, I was a hard ass about this, because it was my cinematographer who believed in this camera, and he bought it. And, you know, of course I trust him, but it's my movie, dude. I'm gonna have to be a bit of a stickler.
Yeah.
So I made him jump through the hoops, man. I really did. Like, you know, we went into a camera house and we put that camera, we tested it, we did camera tests next to an Alexa Mini. And it was another camera, I forget what it was, but it didn't even come close. But the Alexa Mini we were really interested in, because that was kind of I think they had just come out with a new iteration of it. And so we were like kind of really interested in working with that. But it was like, you know, 2 or 3 times the price. The body for an Alexa Mini was, I think, something like $50,000. But we weren't really, I'm talking about even in rental, because we weren't really going to like purchase one. We're just going to rent it. So it was just a lot. It would have been like 10,000 extra dollars, which would have been a really serious chunk of our budget. And so we did side by side comparisons. They were cool over at Keslo Camera. We went over there and did like a test. And I'll tell you what, man, the images created by the Alexa Mini were really pretty. And even if you were to argue, oh, it's just a little bit better, which, you know, it was so close that it could have been subjective. It was not a difference that would have justified the extra $10,000. The 10, you know, look, if you've got millions of dollars, 10 grand is nothing, but that's like a sizable portion of our budget. 10 grand is like a big difference. You know, that's like a big stunt. I could put a big stunt on screen for $10,000. You know, that's going to make a difference. So I was really impressed, man. I was really impressed by this camera.
Gonna have to look into that for the next film.
Yeah.
I highly suggest it.
I don't know about like buying it though.
You don't need to. You can rent it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could rent there's a
Great,
Blackmagic
man.
Pocket Cinema
Yeah,
camera, the 6K one. It's
yeah.
like $2,000. Now I was kind of like I was looking at that this week and I was like,
Bro, I've worked with that
I don't
camera.
know.
I've worked with that camera,
Uh-huh.
and I can tell you, again, it depends on how much you want to build it out to. You can get peripherals for it, so you can get like support rods and a matte box and everything, so that you can use more of those tools to really help craft an image for to tell your story. So you can really kind of cinema it out, right? It's like 2 grand. It's like that gets you in the door. But even then, I mean, if you're talking about a $2,000 base, by the time you're building it out, I mean, even if it's 10 grand, you get yourself a sweet little cine kit that's fairly easy to operate with a low amount of people, and you can really produce something for low budget.
Mhm.
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah,
You got to get lights and all that shit, and someone
yeah.
knows how to work with it.
Yeah.
that's the
You're
thing.
on your
Like,
way.
yeah, and like it's good that you brought that up because like I think it's safe to say Gene and I are also pretty open about like it doesn't matter what you shoot with as long as you know it's like
Yeah.
you're doing,
Yeah.
like and I would love to shoot something on a phone. Like I think horror stuff looks good when it's kind of down and dirty. Not across the board, right?
Yeah.
Not everything needs to look like
No.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I do love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mhm.
But like I love these like iPhone
They
short
did shoot
films
that
with
on
the
16 mil or something, didn't they? 16 mil.
yeah, like it
Yeah.
looks
It's got a
like
good look, man. By
It does.
today's standards, it's an interesting texture we don't normally see.
yeah,
Yeah, because it looks like it looks real. Like it was like the
it's so like it feels
Blair
like
Witch
you found a
of
snuff
its
film
time.
made by the family in the film. That's what that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love like the when Apple does like the new phones and they're like, oh, this is the cinema capabilities of this camera, and they'll hire like a professional filmmaker to use it, and it clearly spent like $1 million on the
Yeah.
commercial though,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like that's why it
Yeah.
looks that good, And
Yeah.
I'm pro people just going out and making shit, whatever. We're talking about all these different angles and stuff like that. You got to start somewhere, but it's clear that on those commercials, it's like, oh no, you're working with like I think Chivo
Yeah.
shot something for like one of the new iPhones,
Did
and
you
it
do that
looks
snowball fight
incredible.
one?
Oh yeah, I remember the
Oh
snow.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
like one of
That
the
one was
John Wick
cool.
guys did that.
Oh
That
yeah,
was
one of
cool.
the John Wick guys did that. Yeah, that
John
was
Yeah,
Wick
yeah.
4.
I'm all for it, man. I think look, a lot of how you do what we do, it's you just go out and fucking make shit. That's it. That's the only. It doesn't matter. However, if we're all walking around with little cameras in our pockets now that are like 4K, it's like great. That's a tool to get started. I think it's totally normal, and I wish it was a bigger part of the conversation to feel like you can outgrow that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's kind of like, you know, Gene, we spent some time in post production. It's like, yeah, you can start an iMovie, but at some point you may want to graduate to something a little more serious. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that, like that's just. But I wish that wasn't seen as like a negative thing, because people are like, oh, you have an iPhone. There's nothing holding you back. It's like, all right, man. Well, look, camera just kind of gets the conversation started. There's a lot more that goes into it. It is a challenging thing. So I'm not going to even sit here and say like you have no excuse. But it's certainly nice to know that we have such readily available technology now that you can create a pretty decent look with
Mhm.
something as simple as your pocket computer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're like, listen here, motherfucker.
I love them, but I'm telling you, I'm too much of a nut when it comes to cinematography. Like I wanted to shoot on film so badly. I made my first film on Super 16. And that was right when like HD was starting to take off, but it was like that Sony high definition, that kind of like low, that kind of flat, like it didn't really.
It looks like 28 Days Later.
Yeah, which by the way is a great movie, and the
Yes.
director is brilliant, but it almost like he was able to harness the look of an XL1
Mhm.
and make it like part of the adoration of the movie. It's kind of part of its charm, which you can only really do when you're like an incredible filmmaker. I'm gonna blank on his name. Andy.
Danny Boyle.
Danny Boyle, yeah.
Why do I
Yeah.
always say Andy? Danny Boyle.
No, it rhymes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
He's
close.
great.
They both sound like white dudes. I don't know.
Yeah. So mad he didn't do a Bond movie.
Yeah.
He almost did the last one.
Oh yeah, that's right, huh?
But the
Well, hey,
guy's
he
got
might.
such an incredible filmography,
Yeah. Well, he's talking up 28 years later now because
28 years.
because it might
Oh,
actually
no.
be 28
Oh,
years
God.
later. So
Yeah, like 2003, 2031. There we go.
Yeah, that's
9
right.
years.
anything's
Hopefully.
possible.
It
Yeah,
is.
he gets it made. Never saw
Uh,
28 weeks later.
I saw
I,
that. It was okay.
yeah,
It's
I
okay.
like that one, but it's not 28 days later.
Yeah.
You know.
20 Days Later really was fantastic. It was singular.
Yeah. And again, like you guys mentioned, like the look of that movie, like I don't want everything to look like that. It's perfect for what that movie does.
Yeah, it
And
was
then when they
perfect.
finally switched to 35 millimeter for the final scene, when everything's elated, it's like you feel the relief that you're not looking
Yeah,
at like a disgusting image anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
You
yeah. That
know?
gritty
Yeah.
kind of digital look. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Um, and then just like I just have to shout this out because everyone who listens to this podcast knows, but like I love Michael Mann, and like
Mhm.
that dude like just pushed the fucking digital medium into like
Mhm.
uncharted territory. And at the
Yeah.
time, everyone was like, what the fuck is this?
Mhm.
So it's so funny though because like he made Public, what is it, Public Enemy?
Public
Is that the
enemies,
one?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And he shot that digital, but like I feel like by then we had already started moving into some pretty capable like digital cine cameras.
Mhm.
And it was like he was still using like the first Sony cameras, and like there was some shit that there was like a shootout sequence with Johnny Depp, and it looks like the behind the scenes footage, like they actually cut together the behind the scenes camera shooting the stuff. It looked so bad. I was like, but I still, yeah, I love his stuff. And I mean Collateral, I don't know if you won the last time you
That's
watched that, but it's still
fairly recent.
it's
I love that one.
Yeah,
fantastic.
I watched Collateral like an embarrassing amount of times.
Yeah,
That's one
it's
of my favorite
great.
movies for sure.
I think that's my favorite of his, to be honest with you.
uh I think hmm that's a I think I'm still a Heat guy. I think Heat
Oh,
is
okay.
magnum opus. Uh,
Yeah.
but Collateral is such an interesting, it's such an interesting kind of one of those like contained phone booth-esque uh kind of like thrillers that are it's like just a small cast, but it's all story. Uh
Hmm.
and Tom Cruise is like out of control and he's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plays against type. Yeah.
Yeah.
You forget Tom Cruise could act because he's just in so many
I
action
don't think that,
movies.
man. Look, I hear he's a nutbag. I've never met him in
Oh,
person, but my
yeah.
God, dude, I respect him as a filmmaker. I really do.
Hmm.
He does some shit. I think when he says I love making movies, I believe that guy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
When he's like off the side of a plane,
Dude,
hanging and doing a promo.
but even that, like he will do things like hang off the side of a plane, and
Yeah.
then he'll do like Born on the 4th of July,
Uh-huh.
and like basically turn in an Oscar award-winning performance that will never be forgotten. I mean, that
Yeah.
was incredible. Magnolia, what the hell, dude? He like cleans up. He steals the whole movie, and he's up
What?
against an epic cast of actors.
Yeah. What an insane person.
Yeah, like I'm really interested for when he like can't physically do Mission Impossibles anymore. I
Oh
want to
yeah,
see,
the
does he
next one's.
slide into like a character role
Well,
again?
When he
Like,
I don't
finally
know.
quits, I know that he'll have given it everything he absolutely
Yeah.
could. That's my thought, man.
Maybe,
That's like I respect the dude.
yeah, maybe he'll like direct or something. I don't know.
I think he should. I kind of
Yeah.
get the feeling he does anyways.
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit.
It's
Like
like,
even if he's
yeah.
not the name director, like I bet you Chris McQuarrie would be like, "Oh no, yeah." To a big degree, these are Tom's scenes.
Yeah. It's kind of like The Rock, but can act.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know.
Not just all charm.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't even know Charm anymore. It's all Black
Yeah, it might have
Adam.
changed. Maybe we're over it, but I
Yeah.
don't know. It did pretty well, didn't it?
Black Adam. Yeah. It did.
I heard it's trash, but I think it did well.
Yeah.
People,
It's not very good.
people are still fans of it.
It did as well as the Rock's team predicted and marketed it to be.
Oh, well, that can't be that bad then.
No, it's not the good. It's not good at all. It's kind of bad.
Well, I mean the performance. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
They don't need me. The comic book movies don't need me to defend their asses.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say because we go off on tangents so many times on this podcast, but my favorite tweet of like it was like last month was like The Rock, and he was like watching the cut of Black Adam in his like office or whatever, and someone was like, "Man, the way they staged this photo, the way they're watching this movie, it looks like the war room when Barack Obama was
Yeah.
monitoring the situation of Osama bin Laden being
Yeah.
assassinated. It was like that serious for The Rock that he had to get this movie right. It had to like hit 100 million that
Hey, it
opening
took them
weekend.
15 years to finally
Yeah.
get it made.
Yeah,
Wow.
for
Like,
sure.
love them or hate them, that's
That's
a
an
commitment,
accomplishment.
man.
Yeah, he just really likes Black Adam.
Yeah, and
He really
hey,
likes that
someone
character.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just trying to find. I'm just gonna ask. I don't even know how to pivot this. What is the hardest part of actually like getting the pilot made for the line? Is it like the finding the budget? Is it actually like making it? I know we're talking about like set stuff earlier, but
Yeah.
it sounds like that's more positive regardless of the difficulties.
No, man, honestly, the answer to this question I think is not that exciting, because I think this is always the same thing that plagues every filmmaker. It's just finding the resources. Getting the money is the toughest. You know, the industry has kind of a thing, is it's known for quoting, don't spend your own money. And look, man, if you can get by and make something every couple of years on somebody else's dime, fantastic. But that is just not the reality for a lot of us. And I personally don't want to use that as an excuse anymore. So,
Mhm.
I had to put some skin in the game, and I had to fund part of it, and kind of go out and find other parts of it. And so I really kind of had to put my money where my mouth was. But I don't know. I guess really for me, that isn't that. I don't know, man. It's weird. Like, it sucks. Everyone's like, "Oh, such a big risk that you took," but man, I gotta tell you, I was way more miserable. I would much rather take risks like that than to not make movies ever. Like, that was way worse. Sitting around and not being able to do it was so much worse than knowing what you want to do, and kind of being sidelined from it.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I mean, the challenge, the whole challenge of doing it alone is nearly impossible. But I don't know. I guess if you're the sort of person who goes, could you imagine a life of not doing it? And I couldn't.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's when it's really the right thing to do. But so, once we got, at least some funds together, what was tough is I could have done it probably for a lot cheaper, and it would have been a very different, project. I think everything that you will see when you go to the screening used every penny we had. You know what I mean? There isn't really anything that, like, I could have shaved it off and it would have been the same movie. I mean, we were absolutely like maximizing what we had. But I think that I think that when you have something that you really love and that you really want to do, the risk is not, you can do it. You can actually get yourself, to put it all together. And what I was going to say was that it was, we had a thing for me is like, I wanted to be like fair to people who were working on it. One of my biggest problems on the first movie was like not being able to pay people very well, because you
Call them
realize just
favors.
how big of a commitment it is. And I felt really guilty about that. That's one of the biggest challenges, I would say, is when you don't have that much money and you've got all these incredible artists around you who deserve every penny they charge, but you can't really pay that wage. And like, there's a lot of guilt there, and it feels to a degree like you're taking advantage of people, because you kind of have to. And obviously, look, I mean, at the end of the day, they're the ones that agree to do it and all this and that. And there's always an open door policy. Nobody's being forced, but I personally, for me, I was like, I wanted to at least have enough money put into this thing where I could pay a rate that was at least like human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't great, but it certainly wasn't as bad as some, productions really get away with.
Yeah.
So that meant that I had to raise at least enough money that I could move this thing forward, and at least on a basic humanitarian level. Because it was, if I hadn't have made the scratch that first movie for $7 grand, or 10,000. I don't even remember anymore, but like it was right around there. I wouldn't have kind of learned that lesson. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have realized kind of how shitty I felt at the fact that like all these people were giving so much and getting so little.
Yeah.
You know, if anything. So I don't know, man. That's always a big challenge. The financial aspect of it, creating a plan to kind of create the non-existent and make it existent. It's such a difficult, monumental task to take on. That it was really, you know, once we actually could get some money put together and had a plan on paper and had kind of how we were going to execute this thing, then it was like all steam ahead. But that right, I would say that was probably the most challenging part, is really finding a way to really kick off this project as a film production in a way that was going to sit well with all the artists.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because essentially, you know, you're paying them like, you know, obviously what they're worth, but like just like the time of like people to like just show up and just like commit to a day.
Yeah, man.
It's
And look,
like,
everyone's got a life. Everyone's got rent. We shot this in LA. It's fucking expensive to live here.
Yeah.
You know, it's not
so terrible.
Huh?
It's so terrible. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to like live somewhere else?
Well, it would be nice if like we weren't getting drugged all the time. That's for another podcast, guys.
Yeah, that's another one. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, just pay people for their time and efforts, and you know.
Yeah, honestly, I felt like the weight off of the moral weight off of my shoulders. You know, being able to kind of feel like I did this in a slightly more ethical way.
Yeah.
You know, like I spent, you know, probably 10 times the amount on this that I did on the scratch, and it was worth every penny, because it was so nice. Like, I didn't know that. That was a lesson. That's like a lesson you only learn from doing your first movie, right? You're like, oh, I feel like an asshole. You know what I mean? Like you don't know you're gonna feel like an asshole when you're off making your first feature and you're like asking people to work for 12 or 14 hours and they're getting like nothing. You're like feeding them with goldfish crackers and they're like, it's fucking
that or pizza.
Wheel of death, as we've come to know them.
My favorite is the Jersey Mike's. There's always Jersey Mike's, just fucking lines of Jersey Mike subs.
Yeah,
they have so many left over at the end of the day sometimes.
If I never have Jersey Mike's ever again, it'll be too soon.
No, keep having it. It's good. I like Jersey Mike.
I like stuff I make also, and not Jersey Mike's every day.
Okay.
As we wind down here a little bit on the podcast, so the line, if you could like describe like genre influences, I guess we talked about like movie influences and stuff like that. Is it like more abstract? Is it like thrillers or like a crime action drama?
I mean, I'm a child of 90s action cinema, because that's what was mainstream. So I love, you know, I fell in love. We were talking earlier about Batman, you know, RoboCop I was a huge fan of that. You know, the early Stallone, or like I would say the premiere Stallone movie, the premiere Van Damme movie. Like I was experiencing those firsthand. You know what I mean? And Schwarzenegger.
He's good.
Stuff. I really got. I was very lucky to come up in that time.
And
get to experience that stuff as the mainstream. But you know, so all those movies are always, you know, dear to me and something that I kind of aspire to. But you know, I would say I don't know that I necessarily had the ability to apply any of the things that I wish I could from those movies. You know, like we're just too small potatoes. It's too small budget, and I think I've developed kind of a really it's a mentality that has worked really well for me, which is if you can't do that thing that you're trying to do at 100%, don't bullshit it. Go the other direction. Like if you're trying to create a moment and you just can't afford to do it right, then just 180 it. Go the other direction. Like do something else and do something interesting that isn't that. And so, you know, again, I would love to have, you know, done the moment where like the dude shoots one bullet and the car blows up in the distance. You know, like that's what I was raised on.
Yeah.
You know, that'll be for another time. But so, really what this movie was, The Line was really a culmination of kind of all those flavors. But I also actually really felt like I had something to say. One of my one of the things that I think I really kind of despise about my upbringing, was just kind of how often I heard that success is financial. And maybe it wasn't said in so many words, but it was implied. You know what I mean? Like you just had to make a bunch of money, man. That's it. The more money you make, the happier you are. And I really believed that, man. I swallowed that pill, and I gotta say that really pissed me off once I got older and I realized kind of what a difficult machine this country can be on people. We really emphasize lots and lots of work, and the idea that you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all this and that, and you can never need help, and you can never be a burden on others, and blah blah blah.
Mhm.
Whatever. I get where those things come from, but I realized the real thing that really fulfilled me and felt like was the right answer was really not something anybody ever spoke to me about, which was the counter argument that I think real success is about achieving your passions and discovering what you're really made for and what makes you tick and the thing that makes you happy and fulfills you in ways that nothing else can, or that few things can. That to me is like, this is a much more interesting concept for success. So I start to get tired about, like, when I go to a movie and it's like, oh, they're gonna steal millions of dollars, or like they're gonna get rich in this quick get rich quick scheme, and it's just like boring. We've done it so many times, and I'm just like, all right, I think that I have a counter to this. You know I would rather show a bunch of stories about people who are passionate about certain things, kind of having to fight to either achieve them or to defend them or to preserve them or whatever. And oftentimes in the face of financial temptation. So just to kind of show that there is another side to that coin in terms of, the conversation of what does success really look like. So that's what I was like, I really want to say this. This is something that I'm really passionate about saying. This is a message that I want my kids to hear, so that when they get to my age, they're not like, you know what, nobody ever said anything to me about discovering who I was, looking inwards and figuring out what makes me tick and what makes
Mhm.
me human, and how I can then repurpose that as positive energy to give to others, etc. These are all lessons I learned so late in life, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to put a little of this into my work, and hopefully I can share. And by the way, I'm not that old, so easy. But
We didn't say that. We didn't
but
say
I'm
how
just
old you were.
saying, it feels like another lifetime ago. You know
Yeah.
what? So anyway, I really wanted to put that message in there, and I go, when I think about my influences from cinema, I think about how these mainstream movies that I was going to, yes, they were ultimately like big, entertaining pieces. Like I always talk about Jurassic Park. This is like my thing about,
As you should.
because it's such a great, it's a perfect example. It's like the pinnacle of of blockbuster, of big, studio
Dinosaurs.
action movie. And it's about something, you go, oh, it's about these people trying to survive these dinosaur attacks, but there's also a huge morality tale in it. You know what I mean? There was so much positive messaging in it, and that's when I'm like, that to me is pinnacle cinema. I think when movies can be those entertainment pieces that do bring you the pizzazz and the dazzle of cinema, but also kind of insert human messaging and the idea of the positivity and sharing with you a good morality tale. I tell people, like, sure, when you went to Jurassic Park, you experienced these people running away from dinosaurs, but you also experienced people fighting with the concept of, you were so busy worried about whether or not you could, you didn't stop to think about whether or not you should. And if that's not something that is absolutely relevant today, in so much of what we're facing in our current world, then I don't know what is. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I got that from a fucking dinosaur movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can
Yeah.
draw all this great morality and ethical lessons from cinema. Like, that is that is an integral part of cinema. And so I really wanted to kind of like put what I could back in, in terms of messaging, positive messaging, into what I was creating. My effectiveness will be for another podcast, but I tried really hard, guys. So hopefully it
Okay.
works.
Yeah, we'd be glad to have you on, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome back anytime you want to just shoot
Thanks,
the
man.
shit, or you got another idea you wanna share to the world,
That'll
or
be,
or
yeah,
anything.
man. I've got another idea. I'm ready. I'm already ready, getting ready to start the next script. So
Okay.
at some
Oh.
point in there, I'll have to start making money, but we'll see.
Yeah, I
Nice.
mean, hey, when you're good to go, tell us all about it. We would love to have you on for real. For real. This
Yeah, just talk.
this was a blast. I cannot believe this is the first time I'm pretty sure we did like pass like hello or something at Gene's birthday, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
there was a lot
I
of
don't
noise. Gene
I don't
was
remember.
just blackout
I don't
drunk.
remember.
I was
So
probably really stoned.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
No
then
one
I
it's
didn't
all
I
good.
didn't get to get anything. I was like, who has Gene's bag now? He's leaving.
Oh no, don't
Yeah,
Please.
dude, I remember we were outside in the patio. I will never forget this. This will always be the image I have of Gene's birthday. It was raining in Los Angeles, which is
Yes.
really effing weird. And we were outside and it was warm, but you had the rain and it's warm, and that's kind of like a really cool feeling. And so we were out in the patio at Barney's Beanery, just getting absolutely soaked. I think Gene is probably like, 6, 7 drinks deep. He is barely with it. He orders a thing of chicken wings. The guy brings it outside, leaves it on the table, and Gene proceeds to ignore it until it becomes chicken soup. I mean,
No.
it
Oh
is just drenched in the rain, and I don't think you even ate them, man. You just left them.
no.
And look, as a Mexican, we do not leave food on the table.
Yeah.
So I felt particularly weird about it.
Did someone eat it or it just got
I know, no, man. I don't think
oh
anybody touched it. Would you
huh.
touch a soggy buffalo wing?
God. The more people tell me of that night, the more I remember. So
Oh
that's
man, we
Hey,
all
look,
thought,
it was a good night. You had
yeah.
fun. That's what matters. Um,
yeah.
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 I guess, Gene, anything else you want to ask our fantastic
Yeah.
guest before we wrap up?
Before you go, Jorge, because we're
Yeah.
big fans. What can you say about John McTiernan that won't get you you know
Oh, I
you
don't.
can
I
say
didn't
any
sound good. No, man. Look, I'll try and make the story quick because I know you guys probably have to cut this down. But
No,
um,
fuck it. We're doing it
Let's
live.
go.
Just go for
yeah,
We're
it.
all
doing it
right, all
live.
right.
Yeah.
So one of my most memorable projects was I sold a script called Red Squad to a company, and they were hot to trot on it. They really loved it. It was one of their highest rated scripts. That's not to say I couldn't have done a whole lot better, but it was really good in their eyes. And so they helped in starting to produce it, and it was going to be like a $30 million budget thing. So it wasn't going to be like 100 million plus or anything, but they had like Nicolas Cage attached, and they had, I think at one point, Travolta was attached, and then we had to go and find our director. Well, word got out that John McTiernan was going to get out of jail soon, and he probably needed some work. He probably needed to pay the
needed
bill.
needed the money,
Uh, yeah, and so we had actually been in contact with John McTiernan while he was still in prison.
Did you visit him
We would like exchange notes and shit, and sometimes he would do rewrites, and like it
in
was
the
really,
prison?
yeah, from prison.
Wow.
That's
Uh,
fucking. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
That's fucking amazing.
Was it a nice prison? Was it the
I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna guess no, because
It wasn't the
he
golf course prison.
he kind of looked like he had gone through some shit, like when he got out.
Oh.
Oh
But
no.
yeah, it was I don't know, man. I mean,
Yeah, well,
he was a cool, he was look, genius
Ooh.
filmmaker. I think he's incredible, but
I
like
love Die Hard.
yeah, there was a little bit of conspiracy theory always going on. He was
Yeah.
always a little worried that somebody was like right behind him or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, kids, that's why you don't record a call with the FBI.
yeah, yeah, he went to jail for some time there. But I was actually really stoked about it. I was working closely with him. I actually went to Wyoming. He has like a ranch out in Wyoming, and I was out there for a little bit, and it was all snowy, and like we were working on the script and getting it ready. Like this was gonna go. This thing was gonna happen. And so then John McTiernan and Nicolas Cage started working together and getting ready to do this, to do Red Squad. and there were two primary characters, right? Like I had written kind of the Rambo-esque mercenary, you know, the mysterious soldier who, you know, is matched by nobody, classic action archetype.
Yeah.
And then I had his counterpart, which was the DEA agent, who's kind of more the desk jockey, who is now kind of like being ostracized by the DEA, but kind of was going to use this mercenary to help him get the real bad guy, which is the drug cartels. Bad. They were the bad dudes. But no, it was really cool. I actually really love the script. It's kind of like a modern telling of the Magnificent Seven. In that, like, you know, it takes place. I fucking love that movie, right?
Yeah,
It takes place in this Mexican border town, and it becomes, you know, like the whole end sequence of Saving Private Ryan, where they're like all in this town, and they're gonna have to like fight their way out of this town against like German forces. That's what I was thinking about when I wrote that end sequence, and so it was like this small group of mercenaries that were going to have to defend this little Mexican border town against this big drug cartel. So it was going to be a really killer story and script, and I was super, super stoked. But then what happened was that Nicolas Cage, I agree with Jonathan, with John McTee. John McTiernan said, like, Nick, you need to play the DEA agent. You need to kind of play the desk jockey that kind of has that he has a leadership quality to him, but he's not like the body. You know what I mean? He's not like the violent version. He's got a little more depth to him, something kind of a little more reminiscent to something like Matchstick Men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is arguably one of Nick Cage's best roles.
Mm-hmm.
But Nick Cage, I think, got a little ego in him, and he said, no, I want to play the action star. I want to play the guy who holds the big gun. And so John McTiernan said, no, I got to disagree with you on that. And Nicolas Cage said, no, I got to disagree with you on that. And the whole thing went kaput.
No.
And never got. So they both quit the movie because of creative differences. They couldn't see eye to eye on that. And then here we were, the kids, the product of a divorce, a messy divorce. It never worked out, and who knows where we ended up. But we never got a chance to make that movie, and that was just one of many heartbreak stories I have here in Hollywood, California.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Here's a positive. I don't know if it's for you, but it's definitely positive for me. I'm not very religious, like, at all. Fate, nebulous concept. I do believe, however, Jorge, that you and I were fated to meet, because I have been questioning for years, why hasn't John McTiernan made another movie? He clearly still had it. You know, he's some misses, sure, whatever. Everyone has them. No one's perfect. Things out of his control, whatever.
That much, like, not even.
And maybe like rollerball, rollerball, right?
Rollerball was like his worst, but I would argue that he probably took that as a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think
gotta pay for the ranch.
Right. Yeah, there's other stuff outside of his control, but everything else, I love John McTiernan movies. Yeah. And so I've been like, what stopped him? You know, like, is it just like people don't want to hire him after his legal troubles?
No, trust me, we definitely milked the tablet angle of it. We actually got a big write up. We were in all the trades because this was going to be John McTiernan's first movie coming out of jail, and it was going to be a big deal. So no, man, honestly, I think that it's just a testament to how absolutely nearly impossible it is to navigate this industry. That even, you know, in a situation that was so covered by the press, a guy like John McTiernan could have such a challenge getting a project. But you know, you hear guys like Ridley Scott, they still talk about it. They're like, yeah, no, I couldn't get this sold. I couldn't do this. I'm like, shit, dude, if you're not getting this shit, so how the fuck am I supposed to get this shit sold? Yeah, it's terrifying, but I think that's just the nature of it.
Yeah, that's too bad. But thank you for finally filling that void in my heart for the last decade.
I mean, look it up though, because that's now been a few years. So he, I think that last I heard, he was signed on to do something, but I'm not really sure. not sure if he's doing anything in the TV space. He may have just straight up quit, man. Maybe he just, when he got out of jail, he probably found a very different industry, and maybe didn't like it. Maybe he just went off to go hang out with his cows in Wyoming.
Yeah,
That'd be the life. It's a lot cheaper there.
The one thing I have seen from John McTiernan is I think it was like 2019 or 2020 Christmas, where John McTiernan he goes on like a 10-minute long explanation of like why Die Hard is like an anti-establishment piece, and like he's out there. I fucking would kill to get him on this podcast to talk about it or talk to him at all.
No,
but like he is out there.
I absolutely will take to my grave as one of the coolest moments I experienced was getting a chance to just talk about the Magnificent Seven with him.
Oh,
we just talked about the Magnificent Seven for like an hour.
Damn it.
And just like amazing. What it was about, and like everything, because he really liked that spirit of it. And I think he connected with that. He was like, okay, yeah, I see that. Like modern day Magnificent Seven. That's great. Which we've now remade, right? Which, might work on some level or another, but I think we all still agree that original film is classic.
Yeah. I think awesome. it's frankly underrated. Like everyone talks about Seven Samurai, rightfully so. It's clearly Seven Samurais. That's the upper echelon of cinema. But I do think Magnificent Seven's got some great shit, and
it's going to completely reach a different like group of people, right? A completely different audience. That was the old Western audience was not necessarily the same audience that was appreciating Kurosawa's work.
I literally think about the Eli Wallach's like last line to Yul Brynner at the end. I think about it all fucking time because the movie doesn't give you the answer. He's like, you came back, a man like you, to a place like this. Like, why? And it's just like, fuck, that's so good. I gotta rewatch that movie again.
Yeah,
it's so
I
good.
need to do that too.
Yeah, that movie rules. People are cowards when they don't talk about it.
They really
I think it's
Westerns.
one of the iconic Westerns for sure.
Yeah.
Lots of really great Westerns, but that movie stands out.
Yeah. Mr. Jorge Suarez, thank you very much for joining us.
You're very welcome, you guys. It was an absolute pleasure. I would love to bullshit about movies with you guys anytime.
Yeah, see, this is fun. This is what we do like twice a month, sometimes 3.
Yeah. But yeah, where can people find you online, and where can people see The Line eventually, or are you gonna kind of reserve that for the sales?
There will likely be. We're kind of in the process of hearing back from a large portion of the film festival circuit that we've at least applied to. So I'm sure there will be another screening coming up. So I'll be happy to share that. But you can get me on Twitter at the Jorge Suarez. You can also get me on Instagram at Ese Jorge Suarez, because that Jorge Suarez or the Jorge Suarez was taken. So I went in Spanish and I got around the bullshit. But you can get me on those, and I will. I'll share like any screening information for where it'll be possible to view, but it'll be it is screening this Saturday in Hollywood at 2 p.m. at the Let Live Theater in Hollywood, which is, I forget the address off the top of my head, but November 10th. Wait, no, that's today.
It would be the 12th.
The 12th.
November 12th.
Yeah.
Is Saturday afternoon. So if you guys, as part of the LA Action Film Festival. So if you guys want to come by, if anybody who appreciates the show wants to come by, I don't know that this show will actually be out by the time it screens, which is fine. But like I said, go to the social media handles, and I will populate those places with any screening details coming up.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going. I'm gonna drag you. I don't know.
No, I have here. You know what? For this, I will have the episode out the morning after we record, just to help promote that as much as we can. As our social media stand on Twitter. I have a photography show that I have a piece in, so I will not be able to attend that. But it sounds great. Gene will go for the podcast.
You know what? I think we're also going to do like a private screening at some point. We'll just do like a handful of friends, and we'll make sure that you're there.
I would love to see it. Yes, absolutely.
It's going to be at like your house.
Yeah, I don't. Who cares?
Look at
there you go.
Yeah.
Any excuse I have, for sure. I'll share it, man. Proud of it.
Yeah. Again, thank you so much for this. This is a blast.
You're welcome, man. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome back anytime. Gene, how about you? Where can the people find you online?
Yeah, sure. You could find me on Twitter, Instagram, Gene9892. For as long as the Twitter will be there. I don't know at the end of the week if it's still standing.
Yeah, who fucking knows? That's where like half our audience comes from. So
I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do. Go to Mastodon or something.
I don't know. People listen to us on Spotify and SoundCloud, so that's good.
What's up?
Truth Social, is that what we're gonna move over to?
Oh, no, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I start posting on Facebook, I guess. No. And of course, you can find me and the rest of the Waffle Press on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon. Links down below in the descriptions to the YouTube, Spotify versions. Check out the Patreon. I'm not gonna lie, there's nothing new there. You're caught up on everything. But I will be doing some film writing again just to get some stuff out there, and I don't want to leave anyone hanging. And I want to make sure you, the patrons, are having a good time. You will be the first ones to hear about the next planned retrospective, which I'm talking to Macaringo about. We're going to do Avatar. I tried to pitch James Cameron retrospective. I don't think we have the feasible energy to do all of that, but we'll talk about Avatar, and then we'll all talk about Avatar 2, and I'll tell you all why you're wrong about the first Avatar, because it is good. But anyways, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. If you didn't like this episode, you're crazy, but like and subscribe anyways, because you might find something you do like. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.